Howdy, partner. Welcome to another live reading of Rick Riordan's The Kane Chronicles, Book 1, The Red Pyramid. It's still a 3.5. It's just fun. It feels like I'm watching a Disney movie, to be honest. You know, it's just, alright, cool. I don't know. But I got the book back, and I got actually pretty distracted with the Mode God's Eye, and I'm thinking about it, but I'm almost done with this book, and I'm farther in this book too, so maybe I should continue, right? Here we are. We're like about halfway through now. See? Halfway through. And we're on chapter 24, Sadie's perspective. If you don't want spoilers, I will leave. We're in chapter 24, page 296. I blew up some blue suede shoes. So hopefully we get some Elvis Presley shout outs, which I already see his name, so yeah, I was right. Now let's read it. Where are we? I asked. We stood on a deserted avenue outside the gates of a large estate. We still seemed to be in Memphis. At least the trees, the weather, the afternoon light were all the same. The estate must have been several acres at least. The white metal gates were done in fancy designs of silhouetted guitar players and musical notes. Beyond them, the driveway curved through the trees up to a 2-story house with a white column. Portico? I don't know what a portico is. Oh no, Carter said. I recognize those gates. What? Why? Dad brought me here once. A great magician's tomb. Toth has got to be kidding. Carter, what are you talking about? Is someone buried here? He nodded. This is Graceland, home to the most famous musician in the world. Michael Jackson lived here? No, dummy. Elvis Presley. I wasn't sure whether to laugh or curse. Elvis Presley? You mean white suits with rhinestones, big slick hair, Grant's record collection? That Elvis? Carter looked around nervously. He drew his sword even though we seemed to be totally alone. This is where he lived and died. He's buried in the back of the mansion. I stared up at the house. You're telling me Elvis was a magician? Don't know. Carter gripped his sword. Toth didn't say something about music being a kind of magic, but something's not right. Why are we the only ones here? There's usually a mob of tourists. Christmas holidays? But no security? I shrugged. Maybe it's like what Zia did at Luxor. Maybe Toth cleared everyone out. Maybe. But I could tell Carter was still uneasy. He pushed the gates and they opened easily. Not right, he muttered. No, I agreed. But let's go pay our respects. As we walked up the drive, I couldn't help thinking that the home of the king wasn't very impressive. Compared to some of the rich and famous homes I see on TV, Elvis's place looked awfully small. It was just 2 stories high with that white column portico and brick walls. Ridiculous plaster lions flanked the steps. Perhaps things were simpler back in Elvis's day, or maybe he spent all his money on rhinestone suits. Oh yeah, maybe he spent all his money on rhinestone suits. We stopped at the foot of the steps. So Dad brought you here, I asked? Yeah. Carter eyed the lions as if expecting them to attack. Dad loves blues and jazz, mostly, but he said Elvis was important because he took African American music and made it popular for white people. He helped invent rock and roll. Anyway, Dad and I were in town for a symposium or something. I don't remember. Dad insisted I come here. Lucky you. And yes, perhaps I was beginning to understand what Carter's life with Dad hadn't been on glamour and holiday, but still I couldn't help feeling a bit jealous. Not that I'd ever wanted to see Graceland, of course, but Dad had never insisted on taking me anywhere, at least until the British Museum trip where he disappeared. I hadn't even known Dad was an Elvis fan, which was rather horrifying. We walked up the steps. The front door swung open all by itself. "I don't like that," Carter said. I turned to look behind us and my blood went ice cold. I grabbed my brother's arm. Carter, speaking of things we don't like." Coming up the driveway were two magicians brandishing staffs and wands. "Inside," Carter said. "Quick!" I didn't have much time to admire the house. There was a dining room to our left and a living room, music room to our right, with a piano and a stained glass archway decorated with peacocks. All the furniture was roped off. The house smelled like old people. "Item of power," I said. "Where?" "I don't know," Carter snapped. They didn't have items of power listed on the tour. I glanced out the window. Our enemies were getting close. The bloke in front wore jeans, a black sleeveless shirt, boots, and a battered cowboy hat. He looked more like an outlaw than a magician. His friend was similarly dressed, but much heftier, with tattooed arms, a bald head, and a scraggly beard. When they were 10 meters away, the man with the cowboy hat lowered his staff, which morphed into a shotgun. "Oh, please," I yelled, and pushed Carter into the living room. The blast shattered Elvis's front door and sent my ears ringing. We scrambled to our feet and ran deeper into the house. We passed through an old-fashioned kitchen, then into the strangest den I'd ever seen. The back wall was made of vine-covered bricks, with a waterfall trickling down the side. The carpet was green shag, floor and ceiling, mind you, and the furniture was carved with creepy animal shapes. Just in case all that stuff wasn't dreadful enough, plaster monkeys and stuffed lions had been strategically placed around the room. Despite the danger we were in, the place was horrid. I just had to stop and marvel. "God," I said, "did Elvis have no taste?" "The jungle room," Carter said. "He decorated it like this to annoy his dad." I can respect that. Another shotgun blast roared through the house. "Split up," Carter said. "Bad idea." I could hear the magicians tromping through the rooms, smashing things as they get closer. "I'll distract them," Carter said. "You search. The trophy room is through there." "Carter!" But the fool ran off to protect me. I hate it when he does that. I should have followed him, or run the other way, but I stood frozen in shock as he turned the corner with his sword raised, his body beginning to glow with a golden light, and everything went wrong. Welcome, Frankie me. Welcome. Long time no see, my friend." "Yes, Francisco Espinosa III. Yes." We're reading the Kane Chronicles, Book 1, a Percy Jackson spin-off. Moondust. Let's continue. I'm halfway through with the book. My man, it's so good to see you. I hope the family's great. The wife, I think you have a son, right? Or a daughter? Dude, that's awesome. Yes. Father's Day. I hope Father's Day was nice. Yes. I hope you have a great life, you know? Maybe he'll go to college and become the president, right? Yes. Oh, Frankie, we've come a long way. Woo! High school. All right, let's continue reading. Blam! An emerald flashed through, brought Carter to his knees. For a heartbeat, I thought he'd been hit with the shotgun, and I had to stifle a scream. But immediately, Carter collapsed and began to shrink, clothes, swords, and all, melting into a tiny sliver of green. I definitely want to meet him, yeah. Little Frankie. Ooh. Little Frankie. The lizard that used to be my brother raced toward me, climbed up my leg into my palm where it looked at me desperately. From around the corner, a gruff voice said, "Split up and find the sister. She'll be somewhere close." "Oh, Carter," I whispered fondly to the wizard, "I will so kill you for this." I stuffed him in my pocket and ran. I don't believe it. The two magicians... Bro, this scene was actually really good. And then Carter had to pussy out. Damn it. The scene, let's see where it goes. The two magicians continued to smash and crash their way through Greenland, knocking over furniture and blasting things to bits. Apparently, they were not Elvis fans. I ducked under some ropes, crept through a hallway, and found the trophy room. Amazingly, it was full of trophies. Gold records crowded the walls. Rhinestone Elvis jumpsuits glittered in the four glass cases. The room was dimly lit, probably to keep the jumpsuits from blinding visitors, and music played softly from overhead speakers. Elvis warning everyone not to step on his blue suede shoes. I scanned the room but found nothing that looked magical. The suits? I hoped Todd didn't expect me to wear one. The gold records. Lovely frisbees, but no. Jared! A voice called to my right. A magician was coming down the hallway. I darted toward the other exit, but a voice just outside it called back. Yeah, I'm over here. I was surrounded. Carter, I whispered. Curse your lizard brain. He fluttered nervously in my pocket, but was no help. I fumbled through my magician's bag and grasped my wand. Should I try drawing a magic circle? No time, and I didn't want to duel toe-to-toe with two older magicians. I had to stay mobile. I took out my rod and willed it into a full-length staff. I could set it on fire or turn it into a lion, but what good would that do? My hand started to tremble. I wanted to crawl into a ball and hide beneath Elvis's record collection. Let me take over, Isis said. I can turn our enemies to dust. No, I told her. You will get us both killed. I could feel her pressing against my will, trying to bust out. I could taste her anger with these magicians. How dare they challenge us? With a sword, we could destroy them. No, I thought again. Then I remembered something Zia had said. Use whatever you have available. The room was dimly lit. Perhaps I could make it darker. Perhaps if I could make it darker. Darkness, I whispered. I felt a tugging sensation in my stomach, and the lights flickered off. The music stopped. The light continued to dim. Even the sunlight faded from the windows until the entire room went black. Somewhere to my left, the first magician sighed in exasperation. Jared! Wasn't me, Wayne, Jared insisted. You always blame me. Wayne muttered something in Egyptian, all still moving towards me. I needed a distraction. I closed my eyes and imagined my surroundings. Although it was pitch black, I could still sense Jared in the hallway to my left, stumbling through the darkness. I sensed Wayne on the other side of the wall to the right, only a few steps from the doorway, and I could visualize the four glass display cases with Elvis's suits. They're tossing your house, I thought. Defend it. A stronger pull in my gut, as if I were lifting a heavy weight. Then the display cases blew open. I heard the shuffling of stiff cloth, like cells in the wind, and was dimly aware of four pale, white shapes in motion, two heading to either door. Wayne yelled as the empty Elvis suits tackled him. His shotgun lit up in the dark. Then to my left, Jared shouted in surprise. A heavy clamp told me he'd been knocked over. I decided to go in Jared's direction. Better an off-balance bloke than one with a shotgun. I slipped through the doorway and down the hall, leaving Jared scuffling behind me and yelling, Get off! Get off! Take me while he's down, Isis urged. Oh, take him. Burn him to ashes. Part of me knew she had a point. If I left Jared in one piece, he would be up in no time and after me again. But it didn't seem right to hurt him, especially while he was being tackled by Elvis suits. I found a door and burst outside into the afternoon sunlight. I was in the backyard of Graceland. A large fountain gurgled nearby, ringed by grave markers. One had a glass encased flame at the top and was heaped with flowers. I took a wild guess. It must be Elvis's. A magician's tomb. Of course. We'd been searching the house, but the item of power would be at his gravesite. But exactly what was the item? It's a guitar. Before I could approach the grave, the door bust open. The big bald man with the straggly beard stumbled out. A tattered Elvis suit had its sleeves wrapped around its neck like it was getting piggyback ride. Well, well. The magician threw off the jumpsuit. His voice confirmed for me that he was the one called Jared. You're just a little girl. You've caused us a lot of trouble, missy. He lowered his staff and fired a shot of green light. I raised my wand and deflected the bolt of energy straight up. I heard a surprise too, the cry of a pigeon, and a newly made lizard fell out of the sky at my feet. Sorry, I told it. Jared smashed and threw down his staff. Apparently he specialized in lizards, because the staff morphed into a Komodo dragon the size of a London taxi cab. That's cool. The monster charged me with unnatural speed. It opened its jaws and would have bitten me in half, but I just had time to wedge my staff in its mouth. Jerry laughed. Ha ha! Nice try, girl! I felt the dragon's jaws pressing on the staff. It was only a matter of seconds before the wood snapped, and then I'd be a Komodo dragon's neck. A little whelp, I told Isis. A little help, I told Isis. Carefully, very carefully, I tapped into her strength. Doing so without letting her take over was like riding a surfboard over a tidal wave, trying desperately to stay on my feet. I felt 5,000 years of experience, knowledge, and power course through me. She offered me options, and I selected the simplest. I channeled power through my staff. I felt it grow hot in my hands, glowing white. The dragon hissed and gurgled as my staff elongated, forcing the creature's jaws open wider, and then boom! The dragon shattered into kindling and sent the splinter remains of Jared's staff raining down around me. Jared had only a moment to look stunned before I threw my wand and whacked him solidly on the forehead. His eyes crossed and he collapsed on the pavement. My wand returned to my hand. That would have been a lovely happy ending, except I'd forgotten about Wayne. The cowboy had a magician scrambled out the door, almost tripping over his friend, but he recovered with lightning speed. He shouted, "Wind!" and my staff flew out of my hands and into his. He smiled cruelly. Well fought, darling, but elemental magic is always quickest. He struck the ends of both staffs, his and mine, against the pavement. A wave rippled over the dirt and pavement as if the ground had become liquid, knocking me off my feet and sending my wand flying. I scrambled backwards on hands and knees, but I could hear Wayne chanting, summoning fire from the staffs. Rope, Isis said. Every magician carries rope. Panic had made my mind go blank, but my hand instinctively went for my magic bag. I pulled out a small bit of twine, hardly a rope, but it triggered a memory. Something Zia had done in New York, in the New York Museum. I threw the twine at Wayne and yelled a word Isis suggested. Toss! A golden hieroglyph burned the air over Wayne's head. Shoo! The twine whipped toward him like an angry snake, the growing longer and thicker as it flew. Wayne's eyes widened. He stumbled back and sent jets of flame shooting from both staffs, but the rope was too quick. It lashed around his ankles and toppled him sideways, wrapping around his whole body until he was encased in a twine cocoon from chin to toes. He struggled and screamed and called me quite a few unflattering names. I got up unsteadily. Jared was still out cold. I retrieved my staff, which had fallen next to Wayne. He continued straining against the twine and cursing in Egyptian, which sounded strange with an American Southern accent. Finish him, Isis warned. He can still speak. He will not rest until he destroys you. Fire, Wayne screamed. Water. Cheese. Even the cheese command did not work. I reckoned his rage was throwing his magic off balance and making it impossible to focus, but I knew he would recover soon. Silence, I said. Wayne's voice abruptly stopped working. He kept screaming, but no sound came out. I'm not your enemy, I told him, but I can't have you killing me. Either. Something wriggled in my pocket, and I remembered Carter. I took him out. He looked okay, except, of course, for the fact he was still a lizard. I'll try to change you back, I told him. Hopefully I don't make things worse. He made a little croak that didn't convey much confidence. I closed my eyes and imagined Carter as he should be. A tall boy of 14, badly dressed, very human, very annoying. Carter began to feel heavy in my hands. I put him down and watched as the lizard grew into a vaguely helmet blotch. By the count of 3, my brother was lying on his stomach, his sword and pack next to him on the lawn. He spit grass on the mouth Hold on. Wow. She did that? That's crazy. He spit grass out of his mouth. How'd you do that? I don't know, I admitted. You just seemed wrong. Thanks a lot. He got up and checked to make sure he had all his fingers. Then he saw the two magicians and his mouth fell open. What did you do to them? Just tied one up, knocked one out. Magic. No, I mean, he faltered, searching for words, then gave up and pointed. I looked at the magicians and yelped. Wayne wasn't moving. His eyes and mouth was open, but he wasn't blinking or breathing. Next to him, Jared looked just as frozen. As we watched, their mouths began to glow, as if they'd swallowed matches. Two tiny yellow orbs of fire popped out from between their lips and was shot into the air, disappearing in the sunlight. What? What was that? I asked. Are they dead? Carter approached him cautiously and put his hand on Wayne's neck. It doesn't even feel like skin, more like rock. No, they were human. I didn't turn them to rock. Carter felt Jared's forehead when I'd whacked him with my wand. It's cracked. What? Carter picked up his sword. Before I could even scream, he brought the hilt down on Jared's face, and the magician's head cracked into shards like a flower pot. Ooh, that was scary. They're made of clay, Carter said. They're both shati. He picked Wayne's arm, and I heard it crunch under the twine. But they were casting spells, I said, and talking. They were real. As we watched, the shati crumbled to dust, leaving nothing behind but my bit of twine, two staffs, and some grungy clothes. Toth was testing us, Carter said. Those balls of fire, though. He frowned as if trying to recall something important. Probably the magic that animated them, I guessed. Flying back to their master like a recording of what they did. It sounded like a solid theory to me, but Carter seemed awfully troubled. He pointed to the blasted back door of Graceland. Is the whole house like that? Worse. I looked at the ruined Elvis jumpsuit under Jared's clothes and scattered rhinestones. Maybe Elvis had no taste, but I still felt bad about trashing the king's place. If the place had been important to Dad. Suddenly, an idea perked in me. What was it that Amos said that repaired that saucer? Carter frowned. This is a whole house, Sadie, not a saucer. Got it. I said, Nem. Or, hi, Nem, I mean. I thought she was like, clearing her throat. A ghost-like coffer grip symbol flickered to life in my palm. I held it up and blew it towards the house. The entire outline of Graceland began to glow. The pieces of the door flew back into place and mended themselves. The tattered bits of Elvis' clothing disappeared. Wow, Carter said. Do you think that the inside is fixed too? My vision blurred, and my knees buckled. I would have knocked my head on the pavement if Carter hadn't caught me. It's okay, he said. You did a lot of magic, Sadie. That was amazing. But we haven't even found the item Toth sent for us. Yeah, Carter said. Maybe we have. He pointed to Elvis's grave, and I saw it clearly. A memento left behind by some adoring fan. A necklace with a silver loop-topped cross, just like the one on Mom's t-shirt in my old photograph. An Ankh, I said. The Egyptian symbol for eternal life. Carter picked it up. There was a small papyrus scroll attached to the chain. What's this? He murmured, and unrolled the sheet. He stared at it so hard I thought he burned a hole in it. What? I looked over his shoulder. The painting looked quite ancient. It showed a golden spotted cat holding a knife in one paw and chopping the head off a snake. Beneath it, in black market, someone had written, "Keep up the fight." That's vandalism, isn't it? I asked, marking up an ancient drawing like that. Rather an odd thing to leave for Elvis. Carter didn't seem to hear. I've seen this picture before. It's in a lot of tombs. Don't know why it never occurred to me. I studied the picture more closely. Something about it did seem rather familiar. You know what it means? I asked. It's a cat of Ra fighting the sun god's main enemy, Apophis. The snake, I said. Yeah, Apophis was the embodiment of chaos, I said, remembering what Nut had said. Carter looked impressed, as well as he should have. Exactly. Apophis was even worse than Set. What? The Egyptian thought doomsday would come when Apophis ate the sun and destroyed all of creation. But the cat killed her? I said hopefully. The cat had to kill it over and over again, Carter said, like what Todd said about repeating patterns. The thing is, I asked Dad one time if the cat had a name, and he said nobody knows for sure, but most people assume it's Sekhmet, this fierce lion goddess. She was called the Eye of Ra because she did the dirty work. He saw an enemy, she killed it. Fine, so? So the cat doesn't look like Sekhmet. It just occurred to me. I finally saw it, and a shiver went down my back. The cat of Ra looks exactly like Muffin. I knew it. It's Bast. Just then, damn. My favorite character is about to die. Or she's gonna... Oh, I don't want her going through the endless cycle of fighting Apophis. That's so sad. Just then, the ground rumbled. The memorial fountain began to glow and a dark doorway appeared. Come on, I said. I've got some questions for Todd, and then I'm going to punch him in the beak. Why is she gonna punch Todd? For what? Chapter 25. That was a little long chapter. We win an all expenses paid trip to death. This is in Carter's perspective. Being turned into a lizard can really mess up your day. As we stepped through the doorway, I tried to hide it, but I was feeling pretty bad. You're probably thinking, hey, you already turned into a falcon. What's the big deal? But someone else forcing you into another form, that's totally different. Imagine yourself in a trash compactor. Your entire body smashed into a shape smaller than your hand. It's painful, and it's humiliating. Your enemy pictures you as a stupid, harmless lizard, then imposes their will on you, overpowering your thoughts until you have to be what they want you to be. I guess it could have been worse. He could have pictured me as a fruit bat, but still. Oh, the enemy turned him into a fucking lizard? Of course I felt grateful to Sadie for saving me, but I also felt like a complete loser. It was bad enough that I'd embarrassed myself on the basketball court with a troop of baboons. But I also totally failed in battle. Maybe I'd done okay with Leroy, the airport monster. Yeah, bro, you did. But faced with a couple of magicians, even clay ones, I got turned into a reptile in the first 2 seconds. How could I stand a chance against Seth? I don't know. You're doing all right, bro. Don't worry about it. You're doing all right. I was shaken out of those thoughts when we emerged from the portal, because we were definitely not in Todd's office. In front of us loomed a life-size glass and metal pyramid, almost as big as the ones at Giza. The skyline in downtown Memphis rose up in the distance. At our backs were the banks of the Mississippi River. The sun was setting, turned the river and the pyramid to gold. On the pyramid's front steps, next to a 20-foot-tall pharaoh statue labeled as Ramses the Great, Todd had set out a picnic with barbecued ribs and brisket, bread and pickles, the works. He was planning his guitar with a portable amp. Khufu stood nearby, covering his ears. Oh, good. Todd strummed a chord that sounded like the death cry of a sick donkey. You lived. I stared up at the pyramid in amazement. Where did this come from? You didn't just build it, did you? I remembered my bot trip to Set's pyramid, and suddenly pictured gods building monuments all over the U.S. Todd chuckled. I didn't have to build it. The people of Memphis did that. Humans never really forget Egypt, you know. Every time they build a city on the banks of a river, they remember their heritage, buried deep in their subconscious. This is the Pyramid Arena, 6th largest pyramid in the world. It used to be a sports arena for... What is that game you like, Khufu? Khufu said indignantly, and I swear he gave me a dirty look. Yes, basketball, Todd said. But the arena fell on hard times. It's been abandoned for years. Well, no longer. I'm moving in. You do have the Ankh. For a moment, I wondered if it had been such a good idea helping Todd, but we needed him. I tossed him the necklace. Excellent, he said. An ankh from the tomb of Elvis. Powerful magic. Shady clenched her fists. We almost died getting that. You tricked us. Not a trick, he insisted. A test. Those things, Sadie said. The shati. Yes, my best work in centuries. Ashamed to break them, but I couldn't have you beating up on real magicians, could I? Shati make excellent stunt doubles. So you saw the whole thing, I muttered. Oh, yes. Toth held out his hand. 2 little fires danced across his palm. The magic essences we've seen escape from the Shati's mouths. These are recording devices, I suppose you'd say. I got a full report. You defeated the Shati without killing. I must admit I'm surprised, Sadie. You controlled your magic and controlled Isis, and you, Carter, did well turning into a lizard. I thought he was teasing me. Then I realized there was genuine sympathy in his eyes, as if my failure had also been some kind of test. You will find worse enemies ahead, Carter, he warned. Even now, the House of Life sends its best against you, but you will also find friends where you least expect them. I didn't know why, but I got the feeling he was talking about Zia, or maybe that was just wishful thinking. Toth stood and handed Khufu his guitar. He tossed the ankh at the statue of Ramses, and the necklaces fastened itself around the pharaoh's neck. There you are, Ramses, Toth said to the statue. Here's to our new life. The statue glowed faintly, as if the sunset had gotten 10 times brighter. Then the glow spread to the entire pyramid before slowly fading. Oh yes, Toth mused. I think I'll be happy here. Next time you children visit me, I'll have a much bigger laboratory. Scary thought, but I tried to stay focused. That's not all we found, I said. You need to explain this. I held out the painting of the cat and the snake. It's a cat and a snake, Toth said. Thank you, God of wisdom. You placed it for us to find, didn't you? You're trying to give us some kind of clue. Who? Me? Just kill him, Horace said. Shut up, I said. At least kill the guitar. The cat is best, I said, trying to ignore my inner cycle. Falcon, does this have something to do with why our parents released the gods? Toth gestured toward the picnic plates. Did I mention we have barbecue? Sadie stomped her foot. We had a deal, Jahudi. You know I like that name, Toth mused, but not so much when you say it. I believe our deal was that I would explain how to use a spell book. May I? He held out his hand. Reluctantly, I dug the magic book out of my bag and handed it over. Toth unfolded the pages. This takes me back. So many formulae. In the old days, we believed in ritual. A good spell might take weeks to prepare, with exotic ingredients from all over the world. We don't have weeks, I said. Rush, rush, rush. Toth sighed. Khufu agreed, sniffing the guitar. Toth closed the book and handed it back to me. Well, it's an incantation for destroying Set. We know that, Sadie said. Will it destroy him forever? No. But it will destroy him in his form in the world, banishing him deep into the Duat and reducing his power so he will not be able to appear for a long, long time. Centuries, most likely. Sounds good, I said. How do we read it? Todd stared at me like the answer should be obvious. You cannot read it now because the words can only be spoken in Set's presence. Once before him, Sadie should open the book and recite the incantation. She'll know what to do when the time comes. Right, Sadie said, and Set will just stand there calmly while I read him to death. Todd shrugged. I did not say it would be easy. You'll also require 2 ingredients for the spell to work. A verbal ingredient, Set's secret name. What? I protested. How are we supposed to get that? With difficulty, I'd imagine. You can't simply read a secret name from a book. The name must come from the owner's own lips, and his own pronunciation to give you power over him. Great, I said. So we just force Set to tell us. Or trick him, Toth said. Or convince him. Isn't there any other way? Sadie asked. Toth brushed the ink splotch off his lab coat. A hieroglyph turned into a moth and fluttered away. I suppose. Yes. You could ask the person closest to Set's heart, the person who loves him most. She would also have the ability to speak the name. But nobody loves Set, Sadie said. His wife, I guessed. That other goddess, Nephthys. Toth nodded. She's a river goddess. Perhaps you could find her in a river. This just gets better and better, I muttered. Sadie frowned at Toth. You said there was another ingredient? A physical ingredient, Toth agreed. A feather of truth. A what? Sadie asked. But I knew what he was talking about, and my heart sank. You mean from the land of the dead? Toth beamed. Exactly. Wait, Sadie said. What is he talking about? I tried to conceal my fear. When you died in ancient Egypt, you had to take a journey to the land of the dead. I explained. A really dangerous journey. Finally, you made it to the Hall of Judgment, where your life was weighed on the scales of Anubis. Your heart on one side, the feather of truth on the other. If you passed the test, you were blessed with eternal happiness. If you failed, a monster ate your heart and you ceased to exist. Amit the Devourer, Toth said wistfully. Cute little thing. Sadie blinked. So we're supposed to get a feather from the Hall of Judgment? How exactly? Perhaps Anubis would be in a good mood, Toth suggested. It happens every 1,000 years or so. But how do we even get to the land of the dead? I asked. I mean, without dying. Toth gazed at the western horizon where the sunset was turning blood red. Down the river at night, I should think. That's how most people pass into the land of the dead. I would take a boat. You'll find Anubis at the end of the river. He pointed north, then changed his mind and pointed south. Forgot rivers flow south here. Everything is backward. Arr! Khufu ran his fingers down the frets of the guitar and ripped out a massive rock and roll riff. Then he belched as if nothing had happened and set down the guitar. Sadie and I just stared at him, but Toth nodded as if the baboon had something profound. Are you sure, Khufu? Toth asked. Khufu grunted. Very well, Toth sighed. Khufu says he would like to go with you. I told him he could stay here and type my doctoral thesis on quantum physics, but he's not interested. Can't imagine why, Sadie said. Glad to have Khufu tag along, but where do we find a boat? You're the blood of pharaohs, Toth said. Pharaohs always have access to a boat. Just make sure you use it wisely. He nodded toward the river. Turning toward the shore was an old-fashioned paddle wheel, steamboat with smoke billowing from its stacks. I wish you a good journey, Toth said. Until we meet again. We're supposed to take that, I asked, but when I turned to look at Toth, he was gone, as he'd taken the barbecue, with him. Wonderful, Sadie muttered. Arr! Khufu agreed. He took our hands and led us down the shore. Interesting. They should have ate when they had the chance, right? Okay, looks like I'm a little halfway over. Just a little over half. Alright, that's good. I legit just have 200 pages left. So, just gotta read The Sea of Monsters again, right? That was cute. Interesting. I like where this is going. You could take out a couple scenes. Like the set animal. Well, you could honestly get rid of the scene with the and it's corny, you know. But he gave him the whole if you want my help, you have to do something for me cliche. Unfortunately, I'll still give it a 3.5 though. You know, that's cool. I really want to watch I really want to read this. This is like a 3 out of 5 still. Because it took like 100 pages to get where I am. 100 pages, man. I don't even remember what happened. Look, let's see what happened in the God and Mozart. Oh, shit. Yeah, I was just building it up. That's all. It's okay. It was a little long build up. Not gonna lie though. So it's gonna stay at 3 out of 5 for now. 3.5 at most. The Red Pyramid can have a 3.5. I'm excited to read Salem's Lot. After I finish The Moat in God's Eye. After I finish Salem's Lot. we'll be starting my Michael Crichton adventure. This baby, Michael Crichton. 3 novels in 1 book. All Michael Crichton. And we're gonna start with the Great Train Robbery. Right? Oh, no, it's not. Oh, wow. It's the Andromeda Strain. I think the Great Train Robbery was written first. So, honestly, I think I'm gonna read the Great Train Robbery first, but that's crazy. Yeah, but we'll be doing that after I finish Salem's Lot. And then I don't know what to read next. Either it's probably gonna be we'll find out. We'll find out later. Have a good day.